I already showed you a video in Perusal that shows how these crows, these corvids, are super smart. They're able to solve this really tricky problem over here, where there's a piece of meat over here that's at the end of a long, narrow slot, and the crow needs to figure out how to get to that meat. And the only way to do it, given this setup, is first the crow needs to realize, okay, there's a short little stick up here. Now that short stick isn't long enough to fit through this long slot, but you need to go up here, pull up this string to get that stick, and then use that short stick to get that rock out of this little cage, get this second rock out of the little cage, and then get this other rock out of this little cage. And then once you have all three rocks, you can put all three of them into this little box that has a little weighted gate on it, and the weight of all three rocks, not one, not two, you need all three of those rocks, that's enough weight to open up the gate, which will then release this longer stick that the crow can see in there. Once it has that longer stick, then finally it can go over here and use that long stick to stick in the long crevice over here and get the piece of meat out. So notice that the way it solves this problem we can explain by supposing that the crow has the same kind of working memory capacity that you and I have, that we talked about with the Raven's matrices in the earlier video. The crow needs to juggle lots of different ideas together in this working memory in its global workspace and put together how those ideas go. It needs this idea of the short stick and the idea of the three rocks and the idea of the longer stick. And it needs to think about how the short stick connects with the three rocks and how those connect with this and how that connects to the long stick and then how that connects to the meat. And it needs to be able to juggle all of those ideas at once and put them together in just the right way to think through how to solve this problem. So that's remarkable. These crows, indeed corvids in general, the birds like crows and ravens, they seem to have a remarkable working memory capacity that approaches more closely that of humans, where they're able to juggle lots of ideas together like this. So that's one of the pieces of evidence that Carruthers takes to think, look, crows can solve problems just like you and I can. Their minds aren't any different kind of mind. It's just that, we can do more than just solve problems about how to get food out of crevices like this. We can go on to do other things like, science, philosophy, that sort of thing. But what allows us to do that is not any sort of like special little science part of our mind. It's just that we've got a slightly larger working memory. We're able to juggle more things in our thought. So Carruthers points to three different things that seem to set our minds apart from other animals. And he makes the point that they don't really seem to be these extra new kinds of minds. They don't make our mind different in kind. They just kind of soup up our minds with some extra features. So first, we've got this extra RAM. We can juggle more thoughts in our working memory. The other thing that Carruthers points to is, while we do have the kind of human languages that we talked about in the last couple weeks, and I'll give you an example in just a second about how those human languages might allow us to think in a way that improves our intelligence. And then finally, Carruthers notes, we also have this way of having other people in our social groups generate knowledge and then pass that knowledge on to us, and then we can make use of those procedures that other people have discovered without having to rediscover it and reinvent the wheel every time, the way a crow might have to try and solve this puzzle. So when I come back in the next video, I'll give you some reasons to think that our capacity for human language and our ability to transfer information from one generation to the next and from one person to another, that those are the other factors that help account for why we can do certain things that not even really smart crows can do.